Hi everyone, I am back with another video this week and I'd really love to share some tips with you on how you can actually set the foundation for successful training calls. As a customer success manager, I actually think it's one of the more difficult conversations that we can have with customers because it happens fairly early on in that customer experience, which means we need to work extra hard to showcase that we're that trusted advisor, that we know what we're actually talking about. But also, it's not just about the how-tos. Obviously, we want to showcase how to use a platform, but it also needs to build confidence with the customer to say, hey, you know what? It's actually really easy to use, and I can actually do everything that I want to do using this platform that I've purchased. So, what are some of the things that you can do when you jump into a onboarding call? The first thing that I usually recommend is to put up the user interface and just let the customer soak it up for a little bit so that they're familiar with what it looks like, what it feels like. And then you can go on to start explaining some of the nomenclature that you're going to use throughout the rest of the demo and just showing them the different elements of that user interface. I used to work for a company that provided a content marketing platform for large enterprise companies. And we had a lot of lingo that was unique to our company, like collections. Would you know what that means? Not necessarily, right? So I made it a thing to really go into the details and explain and define what some of the lingo that I am very accustomed to means for them. I might say something like, these are collections. You can think of collections as ways to categorize information in a meaningful way. They're kind of like folders where you can file content under so that people can find things easier. Likewise, we had a lot of different menu options that span across the top of our platform. This is one example here. What I used to do is actually name it. I called this the content menu. And I would say something along the lines of, anytime you have anything to do with content, you want to edit, you want to add, you want to delete or modify, this is your best friend. So that as I explain the content publishing workflow later on in the demo, they know exactly what I'm talking about when I say, go to the content menu because it's the best friend. You can use that to really help reinforce the messages so that people can retain that information a lot easier. The second thing that I generally recommend is to start with a use case or a goal in mind and start really broad and then narrow in on the details as you go through the demo. I worked with a company recently that builds an analytics platform and they have all sorts of use cases, 5 to be specific. And when they were walking through the demo, they just jumped right in. They said, this is how you do this. You click here, you click here, you click here, and then that'll generate a customized report. Now, as the listener, what I had to try and figure out was, as he started the demo, when we're clicking here, here, and here, what was the actual purpose? Why would I be doing this? So if we flipped that model on its head and said, we know that you are really interested in customized reports, so I'm going to show you how to do that first. Right? You define the goal, and then you say, first you click here, and click here, and click here. Then you have that customized report built for you automatically. That gives me a flow and a logic that I can say, oh yeah, that's what I'm actually learning right now. And you'll be surprised how easy or how much more people will retain that information just with that simple flip. So really, three tips that I have for you today. The first one is to just have that user interface, let them soak it in, cover any nomenclature that may or may not be familiar to your audience. The second one is to name certain icons that you think would be relevant and to give it a little backstory so that you can reinforce that message later on. And then finally is to start broad with a use case or goal in mind and then come back down into the minute details so that people can follow you with a logical flow. I'd love to hear what you like to do to try and engage your audience in training calls or how you boost retention. So leave that in the comments below and I'll see you in my next video. Have a good day, everyone.